Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Charlotte Canion. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
I'm your host, Charlotte Canion, the author of the 2018 best self-help book called You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. And we have the privilege of interviewing Jim Stephenson tonight. Now, he has written a book called Small Steps, Big Feet. But he's also an engineer. So, Jim, welcome to the show. Give us a little bit of your background and tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to do that. I appreciate the privilege and the honor to be on the program, too. You said he's an engineer like that was a bad thing or an unexpected thing, too. So, and my educational background actually is engineering, mechanical engineering. I graduated way back before the internet, and went into the automotive industry. Worked in the automotive industry for 15 years, and we lived in Michigan. Had most of our family out there. My wife and I have 5 children, and loved being an engineer. And then got the bug to get closer to home and back out west where I live now, and moved into a job that it was painful to go to work, and it kind of drove me into the things that I wrote about in my book. So that was kind of the genesis of Small Steps, Big Feet. And for a radio audience, I ought to point out it's spelled F-E-A-T, not F-E-E-T. So it's accomplishment as opposed to the things at the end of your legs. So, but that's
you're just doing a play on words. I know.
Yeah. Well, my title, that was actually from the publisher, which I appreciated because my titles were all dumb engineering titles. So this one was a little more appropriate to the book, and that's kind of what's in the book, the small steps you can take in different areas of your life that can make a huge difference if you're consistent with them. And so small steps, big feet,
Yeah, let me ask you this. Did you experience this in your life, and that's why you decided to put it into a book?
Yeah, that is why. In fact, if you look at them, one of the sections, for example, is on health and fitness. And if I ask you what do you need to do to maintain good health and fitness, you're probably going to know the answers. Most of the people are. And so, yes, it is as kind of the record of my journey, the small steps that I implemented as I progressed through. I mentioned I really hated my job. I hate to say that, but I really hated my job. And yet they just moved me across country. I was obligated financially for a couple of years, or I had to repay living expenses. And so I went to work trying to find ways to replace my income without having to relocate my family again. We had kids in high school. It's a hard time to uproot a family and to do it again in a few years. So I started with finances. And so one of the small things you can do with your finances is going to make a difference. This isn't a small thing, but it was investing in real estate. I mean, that's where I started. But I really started investing in education in real estate first, and bought my first investment property, scared to death, way outside my comfort zone. I've been to a lot of real estate investor club meetings, and it's funny because he says, engineer, he didn't know I was an engineer, but he talks about investors. He says, I've gone over this with people, what they need to do, and engineers are the worst. they just overanalyze it, and they won't ever pull the trigger. So, and I'm sure that's where I would have been if my trigger hadn't already been pulled for me, largely because I just hated going to work. The group I was in, the leadership at the time, it was really kind of I hate to say, but a toxic work environment. It took that to get me to take action in that area of my life. And then that led to other areas too. So, and that's what I've written about in the book.
Okay, and tell us a little. You kind of skipped over your family, and I know you have 5 kids and all. Are they grown? Do they still live at home?
Yeah. No, I'd love to. My wife and I have 5 children. We are almost empty nesters now. We have our youngest is a senior in high school this year, so he'll be wrapping up here in a few months and off to college, and we'll be officially empty nesters, which my wife is not excited about. and not that I am, but the good news is they're close, and we still see them quite frequently. In fact, the apartment they're in doesn't have a washer and dryer, so they come home on the weekends to do their laundry. So we still get to see the unmarried children there. My oldest daughter actually lives with her husband in Germany, and unfortunately that means my two granddaughters, our only grandchildren, are over in Germany. But fortunately we get to see them on FaceTime and video conferencing that way, just the time difference. But
Okay. Can you tell us how long it took you to write your book?
yeah.
And when did you get the first inspiration? I mean, was it 2 years ago? Was it, how
Oh.
long ago? And, how long did it take to write it?
Well, great question, and particularly for an audience of authors. I actually started. I mentioned I started investing in real estate, and that led to personal development, and that led to health and fitness, and what's the other one I had is finances, health, fitness, personal development. Oh, goals. Goals is kind of embedded in the personal development too. So I've got 2 chapters on each of those. But let's see. Tell me your question again, because I just lost my train of thought. It was, how long it took to write the book. Sorry. Yeah. So I started teaching workshops on the side because I was in the training department. That was one of the switches I made in my job that actually made it to where it wasn't unbearable. In fact, I really enjoyed it, ironically. But at that point, I'd already moved past the career part to where, I want to do this on my own now. So I started teaching workshops, and someone said, well, it's hard to get people to come to someone that no one knows about. If you write a book, you have instant credibility. Authors have instant credibility just by virtue of the fact that you're an author. So I thought, okay, well, let me do that. And it probably took me, the better part of a year, maybe about 18 months from the time I started writing it until the time I was finished writing it with the manuscript, and then we went through a couple of editing rounds before we got it out. But I'd guess about 18 months for me to get my first book out. I don't know if that's or not, but
yeah. Well, now how long has it been out?
Just about a year. It was about a year ago, a year and a month, I guess, ago, that I had the book launch gala. Had people out, talked about it, and shared it with people. So it's been out about a year now.
And are you seeing a lot of response to it?
I not as much as I would have anticipated or would have hoped, and I'm not done yet. I noticed one thing when I listened to Jack Canfield a lot, and when he talked about the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, they spent, I think, as much effort marketing the book after the fact as they did publishing it and getting a publisher and getting it published in the first place. And my publisher doesn't do much with the post-printing marketing, so that's really been up to me. I am doing more with that now, so hopefully we'll see that going forward. But I have been using it a lot as much as a credibility piece and something to point people to when they find out, what are you doing now, and have questions about the things that I wrote about. So it's still been very valuable, but hasn't moved as much as I'd like it to. But we're going to change that in 2020 here.
Well, of course it is. I mean, when you first come out with it, it's baby steps, and then you're probably up and walking real fast now and looking for that run.
Yeah.
Well, we've only got a couple of more minutes here. Tell us a little bit. Go ahead and start into your book and give us a little bit of what they're going to get into at first.
Absolutely. So I mentioned there's 4 different sections, 2 chapters per section, basically, on these 4 different areas that were part of the journey that I'll say freed me from the world of employment, helped me build the financial position that I could leave my job and stick my neck out in the world of self-employment and entrepreneurship and have a go at it. So there's 4 different steps I've got in the financial section. And I mentioned that as I was learning to invest in real estate, that led to personal development. I'm at a luncheon. Someone refers to a book it's changed my life. So I ordered the book, and it was on the goals, a process for setting goals. And so I've covered some of those in my book as well in a couple of chapters. And that led to, hey, dude, you're 30 pounds overweight, and you really have no one to blame but yourself. And I'd had plenty of people to blame before that. So 2 chapters on health and fitness and how I lost 30 pounds and have kept it off for going on 3 years now. And then the final one's on personal development. And there's just different small steps in each of those areas will make a huge difference if you apply them consistently over time.
And thus is why you call your book Small Steps,
Small Steps,
Big Feats.
Big Feet. Feet, yeah.
F-E-A-T. F-E-A-T.
Correct.
Well, Jim, you and I have known each other for a while, and I've known a little bit of your story. I appreciate you, sharing this with our listeners. I know there's a lot of people out there that would like to get their life together, whether it be physically, emotionally, or mentally, or financially. And so we're going to come back with Jim Stephenson here shortly and talk a little more in depth about his small steps and big feet. You stay tuned now.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? I'm Charlotte Canion, award-winning author of the book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. That was a question I had to ask myself some 16 years ago, and you'll have to ask the same question. I had a father-in-law with dementia, a mother with Alzheimer's, and a dad with Parkinson, all at the same time.
We Fiction is a fun, fast-paced writing contest for any author team to create a book based on what readers submit for plot, characters, locations, and even plot twists. Learn more about this unique contest at wefiction.dearindy.org. The 5th annual Authors Marketing Event is coming to Granbury, Texas, July 24th through the 27th. Join us and learn from the professionals how to properly market and sell yourself and your books. Go to ame.authorsmarketingguild.com for all the details. That's ame.authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to speak with James Stephenson today, and I call him Jim because we are old friends. I've known him over a year, and he's written the book Small Steps, Big Feat, and that's F-E-A-T. Jim, I want you to go a little more in depth about your book. It's a self-help book. It helps you through all phases of your life and helps you kind of cohesively put yourself back together, because we all are born perfect, but then we get kind of screwed up as we go through life.
Screw it up, don't we?
We do. We do.
There's a lot of reasons for that. And
yeah. Give, if you can, give us a little hints of what they're going to get when they buy or connect with you and find out about your book from each of the segments that you talk about.
I would love to. In fact, let me take just a few of them. And these are, again, they're probably not going to be surprises to anyone, but most people don't do them. And yet, if you back up and look at them, they really are small steps that will accomplish big things as long as you sustain it over time. So, and the book is in the order of kind of that it went in my journey. So the finance piece is first, because that's really, unfortunately, that's what drives the motivation for a lot of people. I want to be rich, or I want to, not rich, but a lot of people, a lot of people do want to be rich, but you want to be financially independent. You don't want to always be living paycheck to paycheck. Well, guess where I was after 20 years of a professional career, master's degree in engineering, 6-figure income, living paycheck to paycheck, because that's what we did. It's kind of a funny story. My son, my oldest son, he was asking, he's very financially conscious, and we're in a bookstore one day, and this is before I'd written the book or before I'd made any of these changes, and he wanted a book on finances. I'm walking by, and I just, here's one, grab one off the shelf, and it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So I bought it for him, never heard of it before, gave it to him. He read it. Dad, you got to read this. You got to read this. Okay, I read that. And that's kind of how we got started in real estate investing. But I used to have him, trying to teach him, in this case, modeling a bad example for him, but involve him in our family finances. So I would have him balance our checkbook every week. Well, it was very typical for us to go into our overdraft every pay period. We would just do that. That was the norm. And he was so uptight about it. Dad, we can't keep doing this. And it used to bug me to have him come and tell me that. So I finally had him quit balancing our checkbook. That was my solution to it. So one of the steps in the financial piece is to live on less than you make. And the way you do that is by setting a monthly spending plan and tracking to it every week. And I like to use the analogy. So this is, in fact, I don't like to use the word budget. I say budget, and a lot of people get a knot in their stomach when they hear that word, either from guilt or, oh, I don't like it, or it's restraining, or whatever else. And that was tough for us too. And my sweetheart of 29 years, we just had our 29th year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was hard for her too. Not that it was easy for me, but I still remember that first time we sat down at the table, and I honestly kind of had to leverage our kids, particularly my son, who was very anxious that we were applying more fiscally responsible practices in our home, to help my wife get on board that, yes, we're going to do this. Because in her mind, it really was. I mean, it was constraining. You're going to tell me I can't get something that I need, or, there's a lot of emotional, mental baggage that we all have about finances, and particularly in a relationship. In fact, that's a course I've got right now that I teach is Couples Finance Breakthrough. And it's working specifically with couples on their finances together, because there's some unique challenges. If you're by yourself, you don't really have anyone else to blame if you're screwed up with your finances, right? I mean, it's you. So, but when there's two of you, then there's more dynamics, and it's a bit of a challenge. But so one of those small steps, and literally, it takes less time once you've set it up and manage it on a consistent basis to set a spending plan every month and track to it every week than it does to go through the shower in the morning. So, if you invest that much time to get ready in the morning, make yourself look good, smell good, then why do you want to be financially stinky and not take care of your finances? You got financial body odor because you're not doing these things. But most people don't do it. 33%, I think, is the last statistic that I saw. I think it had gone up a little bit, so that's good, that are actually doing a monthly budget. Otherwise, that's 2/3 of us that still don't do that. So those are two. The tracking it weekly is a key thing too. In the book, I do go over the tools that I use. I use Mint. It's by Quicken, Intuit. Automation is key. If it's a lot of work to do something, you're less likely to do it. And so if you can automate it, then you're more likely to do it. So put the tools in place, and I do cover that in the book, and that's some of the stuff I go over in the workshops that I teach as well. So those are two of the financial ones.
So your book goes hand in hand with your workshops. So
yes, largely.
Largely does. Now, do you ever, just go to, sell your book?
I haven't done that. I have just now, in fact, this interview was the impetus for it, but if you go to smallstepsbigfeet.com, spelled out like the title, then you can order the book there. I do have it on Amazon, but again, haven't had the marketing pieces in place. The Kindle version's out there, but you can get all of those from that website. In fact, for your listeners, they can actually go to that website and download a free PDF version if they'd like. So it's not that I'm trying to get rich from the book. It's really that I'm trying to get the message out there and use that as a tool to help in the workshops and in the coaching and mentoring that I do with people. So if they're a client of mine, they absolutely get the book as part of the client, as part of the coaching package. And that's because that is what we're working with them on. Put these things in place. Get a practice of setting goals. Get your health in order if it's not. And, most people are interested in finance initially. It's same with me. I mean, that's where I wanted to start, was free myself from the need to have to go to a job every day, because it was so painful when I was doing it. If you like your job, fantastic, but you're probably going to be settled into there. And I hate to say it, but that will actually limit your growth. And you get comfortable, and there's no motivation to change, and you're not going to do it. So really a big blessing in disguise for me to have almost 4 years of toxic work environment to have to go to drive me into the next level of my life, which is the book and what I'm doing now.
Right. And now, which came first, your consulting and training people, or the book?
Well, I mentioned that I was in the training world, in the corporate world. So okay. I made a switch, and I was in the training world, and I loved that. It was kind of an accidental, like a lot of careers happen, I guess. I mentioned I'm an engineer. In the auto industry, I ended up being responsible for an enterprise-wide software package that was our new product development process. And so I ended up working with our IT group. That's not my expertise, but mechanical engineering is a background. But we used this software. Well, I had to go out and train all of our people, and they had no training package. We developed it internally. So I go to Mexico and actually tried to learn enough Spanish that I could entertain them. I had to switch to English to actually teach it, but it connected with the audience, so it helped them like me more because they knew I was making efforts to speak the language.
To speak them. Well, yeah. Jim, we're going to have to take another break here real quick, and we'll come back and we'll kind of wrap all of this up. This is Charlotte Canion, your host, and we're speaking with Jim Stephenson. Stay tuned and you'll learn a few more of his little secrets.
I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Berkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in these series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency, and now AI wars. These adult techno-thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
This is Charlotte Canion with Indie Beacon Radio, and we are speaking with Jim Stephenson today. Now, Jim is an engineer, as I mentioned earlier in the program, but he has actually taken personal experience in how you can get your life on track financially, physically, mentally, emotionally. Now, I'm sure it's not easy for everyone to do this. Jim, we're kind of wrapping the show up, so I want you to share just a few more tidbits, and then you might want to tell us, give us your website.
Sure.
Give us ways they can reach out to you and get your book or get your program. And you probably ought to be a part of our program, and I'll tell you about it later.
Well, that'd be great. That'd be great. Well, let me start with that so I don't run out of time on it. But the way to access the book is the website smallstepsbigfeet.com. And they can go there. Like I said, they can get a free downloadable PDF version if they prefer a Kindle version, or like me, I like hard copies because I can take notes. They can order those from there as well too. So smallstepsbigfeet.com. I'd mentioned the couples, working with couples on finances. If any of your listeners are in that boat where they're challenged in their relationship with that, they can go to couplesfinancebreakthrough.com and learn more about that program. In fact, there's a free downloadable workbook there that they can access to help them get on the same page with their partners to actually remove that stress about finances in their relationship and actually start building their relationship too. And if they want to get in touch with me directly, then there's a website, mentorwithjames.com. If you go to mentorwithjames.com, you can set up a free strategy call with me, and I love those. I look for them. There's no obligation. It's just let's assess where you're at in these areas. So those are the areas, again, that we've already talked about: finances, goals, personal development, health, and fitness. And maybe just a couple of small steps or a couple of thoughts to leave you with in the time we've got. Two of the biggest things that have made a difference in my life in these last 6 or 7 years that are part of this journey is, one is setting goals consistently on a regular basis and having a system to do that with. We just got through the new year. A lot of people set New Year's resolutions, and I think it was Napoleon Hill that guessed that fewer than one person out of 100 actually does anything beyond writing their goal. There are a lot of goal setters in the circles that, probably your listening audience, because you don't get to be an author without a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to do that. So, but set goals, have them regularly. The other thing that's been key and crucial for me is investing in my own education and mentorship. Right now I probably have a half dozen different mentors or mentorship programs that I'm currently active in. Most of those I'm paying for. Some of them are self-created, like the mastermind group that we put together, which was tremendously beneficial, and I miss it, but it served its purpose, and here we are as published authors now. So set goals, invest in yourself, and keep working for personal growth and development, no matter where you're at in your life.
Now, are you instilling all of that in your children as well?
Wow, you had to ask that, didn't you? Well, by osmosis, maybe. No. Well, they've been part of this journey with me. In fact, when we started doing the real estate investing, they were my helping hands. But yeah, most of this journey happened as they were in high school and on. So yes, I'm hoping they're getting it. Am I actively teaching it? Probably not beyond them observing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think what I've learned in my lifetime, and I think I'm a little bit older than you are, is that you've got to have a certain mindset. You have to kind of have lived a life to know where you screwed up and, what you've done good and what you've done bad, and kind of weigh them all and then, put them all in a basket and like say, books like yours kind of help you get on track. There's New Year's resolutions where you want to lose 20 pounds. I got that extra little roll around the middle. Want to lose that. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Jim. Thank you for taking your time to be on the show today.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. I greatly appreciate it.
You're just very welcome. This is Charlotte Canion, your host. And I want you to remember, a rose is like a book. You can't know its beauty until you look at it. And a book is like a rose. You won't know its full beauty until you open it. This is Charlotte. Have a nice day.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Charlotte Canion. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Allen Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord